Hello, it's me again. And let's keep talking about 西游记 Journey to the West and its relationship with Black myth Wukong. This video, we're gonna tackle the origin of the novel Journey to the West 西游记, how this whole legend came to be. And I intend to summarize it in the way that I think is easiest for people who are outside of Chinese language zone to quickly get how the whole process went down in history. We have to remember three essential time, 7th century, between 13th and 14th century. Then the last one, the 16th century. These are three essential stages, or where we can find most important clues of how the characters of Wukong came to be and how the story eventually formed into this 100-chapter adventure Journey to the West book. To start, at 7th century, we have to first talk about the historical figure, the monk, because he used to be the leading character of this whole story until the monkey took his place. And this character, the monk, is based on a real historical figure who is essential to Chinese Buddhism, Xuanzang Fashi, who lived in the 7th century from year 602 to 664. He's born with the surname Chen and became a monk at the age of 13. At the year 629, at the age of 27, he departed from then Tang Dynasty capital Chang'an, today Xi'an, traveled west to the ancient India on his 2 feet. At the time, it is actually illegal for commoner of Tang Dynasty travel outside of the country's border, so he would have used a lot of tricks and stuff to sneak out. For the next 16 years, he will be traveling to ancient India, learning Sanskrit, learning the original teaching of Buddhism, and become extremely professed in it. To the point that by the time 643, there's clear record, in the current India city, Kannauj, he took part in a debate of Buddhist teaching for 18 days there, and obviously he would be using his foreign language doing that. And during the whole time, he won the debate and beat all his opponents and made his name famous among the Buddhist circle back then. 2 years later, he managed to return to Chang'an. At the beginning of the year, he got back and got welcomed by the emperor because he has achieved something that nobody believed anybody could achieve. He brought back over 1,300 individual books of Buddha scripture. And then by summer that year, he immediately got into translating those works. And that's a huge project that basically took the rest of his life. He only lived to 664, so it's about 20 years after he returned from India that he passed away. He did not only bring back Buddhist scripture, he also brought back a lot of other information and wrote historical record of his travel. He also brought back fruit and vegetable seeds, although most of them actually got lost on his way home because stuff fell into the river. That's also reflected in the story 西游记 Journey to the West in the novel at the end of the whole story, when they actually dropped all the books in the river and lost parts of it. Not only did he do the translation of all those Buddhism scripture in Sanskrit, he also created a series of books that's spoken by him and then recorded and organized by his student, Bianji, another very famous monk in Chinese history, a book, 大唐西域记, the records of the western regions, in which he really didn't mention any of the hardship he suffered. He only talked about where he went, what he saw, and it includes over 200 cities, states, what the geology looks like, what's the architecture like, what are the ethnic groups living there, what are the daily practices of people, from what they eat to what's the marriage like over there, what's medicine like, what's music like. So it's a very rich historical research resources that's still being used today. Scholars who are studying South Asian history in the regions of current India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh would actually refer to Tang Xuanzang's record of his travel. After his passing, as one of the best-known monks of Tang Dynasty, the Tang government, the court, officially organized an effort to write a state-sanctioned kind of biography of this great monk, and it's called 大唐大慈恩寺三藏法师传. 大唐, Great Tang, 大慈恩寺, which is the big 慈恩寺, the temple that he spent most of his time in, 三藏法师, which is the master monk Sanzang. His best known name, Three Basket, is the direct translation, but often it's also referred to as Tripikada monk. The more concise English translation of this book would be The Biography of the Master Sanzang, was eventually finalized and published in year 688. That's about 24 years after he has passed. And the book is made with 10 volumes. The first half written by one author, the second half written by another. The first half covers from his birth to his journey to the West, and then the second half covers everything he's done after he returned to Chang'an. So we have this great historical figure born at the beginning of the 7th century, 602, and at the end of that century, 688, he has become officially canonized, and then he had a state-written biography of his. So the whole 7th century has this great person's life unfolding. At that point, everything about him is still pretty factual. As a normal human being, he hasn't been mystified or legendaryized, if that's a word. It's not in any found text where this monkey would be linked to this monk because he did it on his own. There wasn't a magical monkey historically accompanying him to the West. And then things will start to morph and change over the centuries, as it often happens to great historical figures. In terms of where the monkey came from, there are a couple of very small clues, but they really may not actually be necessarily related to our current version of Sun Wukong, but then it does no harm to mention them. First, there is a mythological monkey in Chinese mythology called Wu Zhiqi, who's supposed to be a river monster who lives in the Huai River, who looks like an ape, but he's just a river Yao. And he lived around the time of the king Da Yu, legendary Chinese ancient king who is famous for his effort to stop flood. The river monkey keeps creating troubles for this king's effort to tame flood, so eventually the monkey got caught and then trapped under a mountain. Where does this monkey come from is up to debate. The earliest record you can find is coming from a Tang dynasty person's writing, in which he claims he's read an ancient version of Shanhai Jing, the classic of mountains and rivers, very famous in Chinese history, and in which he found there's this mentioning of this monkey. Although if you go and look into Shanhai Jing, the version we have now that's passed down, there's no mentioning of this monkey. So this Tang dynasty person kind of said he read an even older version that most people don't read, but it's more likely that he just made it up. As for why he would make up the story about a monkey or where he heard that from and he claimed it's in Shanhai Jing when it's not, who knows? If you go and check the Shanhai Jing actual book, which was now agreed that it was written during the Warring State period to Han Dynasty, so quite some centuries ago from Tang Dynasty, that book really doesn't contain any mentioning of Wu Zhiqi, this name, or a monkey that's been trapped under a mountain. It's likely that it started around Tang Dynasty time, where there's already a legend somewhere talking about a river Yao that's a monkey formed. Then some people would say it may have something to do with Hinduism, the monkey god Hanuman, who is a monkey formed god and also has abilities to transform. It is true that in Hinduism there is this monkey god. Just because there is a monkey god, does it have anything to do with actually Sun Wukong? As far as people can find, there's no direct link of saying that this god in Hinduism actually is the origin of the monkey in Chinese literature as we see in Journey to the West. Since we cannot find any proof that these things are linked, you can say it may be, it may not be. Nobody knows. Until we find more evidence, it would just be one of those guesses. So these are the two extremely vague and not directly linked to Journey to the West source of where the monkey character comes from. You would have to wait till century 13 to 14 when you first come across 100% confirmed monkey character that got injected into the Journey to the West of the Tang monk. First, we have to talk about a book that showed up, right now being debated still. Some people believe it's end of Song Dynasty, some people believe it's beginning of Yuan Dynasty, but to be rough, it would be around the end of 13th century for sure. A book has already showed up. It is called 大唐三藏取经诗话, the story of how the Tripitaka of the Great Tang procured the scriptures. English translation is a mouthful. And its author is unconfirmed. The interesting thing about this book is this is the first time that people can see in a text form when the Tang monk, as the leading character of this Travel to the West story, shifted to a supporting role, and then the monkey showed up as the main character. In the story, it's referred to as the monkey pilgrim, 猴行者, and he transformed into a human form as a scholar dressed in white clothing approached the Tang monk and claimed himself to be the monkey king of the flower fruit mountain, the purple cloud cave, and I have come here to help you achieve your journey to the west to get Buddha's teaching. Maybe there are other books that happened before that has similar plot, but this is the one that right now people can find as the earliest version of the closest to 西游记 version, Sun Wukong showing up. There's no mentioning of the pig. There's a very brief mention of taming a river monster. That could be the original form of the Sha monk. Then by the time Yuan dynasty officially comes into rule, which is from 1271 to 1368, you have a proper story that is an opera play written by the author Yang Jingxian, made up with 6 books, 24 chapters, that gets performed on stage, that finally has a very close to today's version 西游记. This play is called 西游记杂剧, literally means Journey to the West 杂剧. It is an early form of Chinese opera. Chinese opera has many different types, like Beijing opera, Sichuan opera, different regions opera. But this type of reciting prose, poetry, singing, dancing, fighting, like somersaulting on stage, mingling all types of art together performance was really created and sort of reached its first peak during Yuan dynasty in China's literature history. So it's very normal to have something that's talking about the Tang monk travel to the west that happened during Yuan dynasty that we have really good record of as a play, and it's already called 西游记 at that point. And this is the first version we see the 4+1 team: the monk, the pig, the monkey, the other monk, and then the horse. There are other forms at the end of Yuan dynasty, beginning of Ming, so that will bring us to end of 14th century, early 15th century. You already have other novels that also talks about this theme. 西游记平话 is one such novel, and it gets actually mentioned really interestingly in, at the time, Korean people's textbook of teaching Chinese. It's written for Korean readers to help them learn Chinese, and instead of learning all those boring proper text of gentlemen's teaching, Confucius teaching, you need little stories, right, to sort of like get used to how language gets used normally by people. So the stories they select into their Korean teaching Chinese textbooks includes 西游记平话, very close to today's 西游记 story, and it's read for fun for people to learn Chinese. So that kind of proves again that the story by the time Ming dynasty comes around really has formed into its pretty much today's form that we see. Then we come to the actual proper book of 西游记, the 100-chapter novel. The earliest version people can find is something that got published in 1592 called 世德堂本西游记. 世德堂本 is 世德堂 edition. And for sure, before that, there are other published 西游记 version. It's just right now, the earliest one we have is the 1592 one. And in early last century, by some literature giant in Chinese history, such as Lu Xun, they went into researching who is the actual author of 西游记. With him and a couple of other people, they checked county records that's been kept for hundreds of years, and using that as reference to kind of pinpoint that it could be and should be and probably is written by the author Wu Cheng'en, which is why 西游记 Wu Cheng'en 著 This is my 人民文学出版社 People's Literature Publishing House, the sort of classic version of 西游记. They would say the book is written by Wu Cheng'en. Is it for sure? Do you have like 100% proof? Not really. It's all reference. It's not like Wu Cheng'en has sat down and write something and get kept till today and saying, I am the author of this book. I wrote it during this year and this is why I wrote it. Not exactly. But it's likely it's written by this guy. He is somebody from Jiangsu province. It's believed that around his mid-age time, so when he was like in his late 30s, early 40s, that's when he had his first draft And afterwards, it'll be published and probably republished. And so the version we see today, earliest one, is the 1592, when he's already dead. That's what we know as 西游记. And I have gone through all the important time periods and histories to comb it through, like how you end up with this 100-chapter book. I will make other videos actually go into more details about the book as the book, right? What kind of format it has, what type of formula, how it structures things, and how big it is. It's big. It's big. It's 2 huge books and just endless Chinese characters of an adventure story. You can say that the version of 西游记 that eventually ended up being the 100-chapter books is accumulation over time, sediment upon sediment, and added on top by every generation of people who wants to repeat and tell the story of this magical monkey. Although we credit that to Wu Cheng'en, it probably is not his own or solely independent work. It is a work that's already been inherited from previous works. He is the organizer, the reorganizer, reinterpreter, and the person who eventually managed to put it down into 100 chapters. For the rest of this video, I want to quickly talk about its contemporary extension. Over the centuries, before the book even formed, you always have the opera singing version. And Sun Wukong, before modern technology of film, television, the only way you can know his story is from storyteller, is from watching Chinese opera, is from probably seeing some people drawing it out. So those would be the way people get to know this character. And 戏曲, Chinese opera, different types of opera such as Beijing opera or any other opera would also feature this character. And over the centuries, people who play this monkey role in Chinese opera would always do similar things. So it starts to create this coherent image of this monkey. He would have a painted face because he's not a human. And the actor on stage playing this character would have to be really nimble. They would have to, for sure, somersault a lot because that's one of the traits of this monkey. And this gets passed down. And eventually when television comes around, actors who play it live action would also do a lot of fights, somersaults, and monkey-like gestures. If you're playing Black Myth Wukong, you'll know your character, your player monkey character, never speaks. But he whimpers, he screams. And that particular sound quality, the voice he has, actually comes from the tradition of how this character gets represented in Chinese culture. For example, back in 1961, there is an animation movie that's great, and I highly recommend you check it out. Even if it's 1961, you'll be blown away by the quality of it, called 大闹天宫 Uproar in Heaven. And that comes from the early part of 西游记 when the Monkey King gets really angry and then goes up in heaven and messes it up. In the dubbed voice, you can hear it already has this high-pitched quality of this character. And that is so influential. Therefore, from that point onwards, every screen adaptation of Sun Wukong's character, if they don't sound like that, if they have a complete different voice quality, Chinese people would just not accept it. It's like we got imprinted by that high-pitched monkey sound. So when you're playing Black Myth Wukong, you'll hear this voice quality coming out of this character. If you look at the opening animation, where Sun Wukong is talking to Yang Jian, the 二郎神, and they have this long conversation, it's also being dubbed by actors who are imitating the traditional Sun Wukong sounding voice actors' work. You cannot change it. You change it, Chinese people will not accept it. If you've never come across 西游记, never watched anything related to it, I've seen international players playing this game would question, why does the monkey sound so Well, now you know why he sounds so Also, there's a very influential drama series that got made by China Central Television, CCTV, back in 1980. They did it as the test project to see if they can put classic Chinese literature, such as 西游记 or 水浒 or 三国 Three Kingdom or 红楼梦 Dreams of Red Chamber, onto screen. So they started with 西游记, and it was a difficult task. Back then, they had no equipment, nothing of like CG anything, and this is a monster fighting story. It started in 1982. It didn't finish until 88. It took them 6 years to make 25 episodes of 西游记, and it doesn't even cover the entire book. But it was a huge success, blow up in China. Because before that, there literally was nothing like it at all. So growing up as a Chinese person, pretty much everybody has that has seen the 1980s television series somewhere, some part of it. And everything they've done with that series becomes so canonized and influential that everything that comes after that would always refer to how that drama deals with the characters. If you go and watch that, which is on YouTube, the actor who dubbed the monkey would sound very similar to the voice you hear at the beginning animation of Black Myth Wukong. It is because that's the accepted version now for Chinese audiences. In the 1990s, you have a Hong Kong movie, Chinese Odyssey, 大话西游, Zhou Xingchi, Zhu Ying, and so famous, that series of movie. That is like a heavy spin-off, a spin-off of spin-off, and very new characters and completely different worldview, and also comedy and kind of like trying to anti-canon, create their own version of 西游记 that also become really important meme now in popular culture in Asia, not just in China. And that is also a very influential contemporary adaptation that has become its own canon. Then there is a book called Wukong Zhuan, written by the author Jin Hezai, who is one of the main authors who created the fantasy universe Jiuzhou. My channel viewer for a long time, if you watch a lot of Chinese fantasy dramas, you'll know there are so many dramas based on the Jiuzhou novels written by this group of authors who created together this fantasy world, including Tribes and Empires. And Jin Hezai, this author, is one of those authors. He's written many other things. He did write a story that got published in 2001, Wukong Zhuan. It's Wukong's biography. It's his complete new creation based on the canon Sun Wukong, but spin off it a lot. And in those more contemporary adaptations, it often shifts the story to first give quite a bit romantic content in it, where in original novel Sun Wukong it's not in his world romantic relationship. He kind of was born already in a way enlightened to a point. He just needs to tame all his traits, and he has this natural, almost occasionally really Buddha heavy wisdom thing going on with him. So like carnal pleasure of a human male is like not his thing. It never enters his perspective, to be honest. But now contemporary people in their adaptation tends to just not let it go, literally romanticize things. So it's contemporary people's interpretation and redevelopment and rewriting the canon character, because it has no copyright. It's 500-year-old book. Nobody can copyright it anymore, so you can do whatever. You can go home and just write your own Wukong. That's totally fine, and nobody can stop you from doing that. But all those things made some mark in history leading up to adaptation in the game version that we see today as Black Myth Wukong. A lot of it is referring to the canon books, like the monsters, the demons, the Yao Guais, that very actually detailedly refer to a lot of the things in the book. On the other hand, I can also see traces of Black Myth Wukong that really is referring to later adaptations that we have in contemporary time, particularly the last two chapter. The chapter 4 starts to have a little bit, but chapter 5 of the game, if you've played to that point, I haven't, but I've seen people playing through it, so I know what happens. It's really, really more 悟空传 or like 大话西游 than the original 西游记. So I would say Black Myth Wukong is adaptation that combines really the classic only literature 500-year-old book with our current most well-known mainstream adaptation of Wukong, which makes Black Myth Wukong a really complicated adaptation. I have a feeling that they're trying to do a lot of things at the same time. 5-6 chapters of the game, there's really not enough space for them to cram it all in, so certain places feels quite not well linked together and kind of like here and there and scattered and not coherent. If they make a DLC of this game, which I hope they do, I hope they can patch up some of the things in the storytelling that doesn't quite coherently flow. At the end of the day, I'm really grateful actually for the game to exist and eventually got released and getting very successful and very good responses overall on internet. I know in the West, right now it's been debated by, like, it's funny. From a Chinese woman's perspective, right, I look at all the drama the game journalism have on this video game. Every day I'm just marveling at the ridiculous nature of the internet these days and how people can just try to just find problems in everything and try to divide people every way possible and trying to create waves. I'm ready for it to unfold day by day. Meanwhile, I'll keep making videos. This is only the second video. of a series of videos I intend to make on Black Myth Wukong. So again, at the end of the video, I'll remind you, if you want to check out more videos I will make in the future regarding Black Myth Wukong, please subscribe or at least keep my playlist that I'll put up on my channel about Black Myth Wukong saved on your computer somewhere so that you can come back later. Thank you for watching Off New X. I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy game playing.